Greetings Cybertronians, I'm DrLockdown, and once again, Barweer has offered me a product sample. This one's a little bit different from the last one in the sense that it's basically just a statue. It doesn't convert, nor does it articulate, but after what I had to go through last time, perhaps that's for the best. Fortunately, it's a much smaller set, so the build was far less intense than what I tackled previously. For the price, it's a pretty good selection of pieces, but out of the box we run into the same problem as last time. Instead of multiple bags for each stage of the design, we have 4 bigger bags with a metric ton of pieces. Same as last time, I'm not a fan of this, as it really pushes the build time with you constantly looking for the pieces. Accessibility and ease of build are things I really appreciate in brick-based sets, and I'm guessing they didn't go with that due to the budgeting. It might be cheaper to just chuck everything into a few bags of these, though that's just a hypothesis. Fortunately, the build was a lot better than last time. After said last time, I made the decision to split the build over multiple days. Part of this was also because I got a cold and needed to take it slow and recover, but it still ended up being a pretty good decision. The build still took a solid 8 hours, down once again to putting all the bricks in larger bags. That said, it was genuinely a better experience than last time. Part of it was probably because I was expecting it, but part of it was also because it just wasn't as heinous on the piece count. Furthermore, the longer on it went, the easier it got. The bags each got smaller as the build moved further up the body, to the point where it took a quarter of the time to build the last half of the figure. Unfortunately, I did end up running into a very frustrating circumstance, where one of the pieces was missing. Honestly surprising I've built 4 non-LEGO brick sets on this channel and I'm only now running into this issue. Well, aside from that one instance on Disaster Prime where the pieces literally didn't exist. Feels weird though, replacing missing non-LEGO parts with actual LEGO. Seems a bit blasphemous. Regardless, honestly, this build is alright. It's not amazing and there's still some jank in a few areas, but I'd happily do this again if given the chance. The 2 builds from Barweer I've covered on this channel have been pretty similar, however the end results couldn't be more different. Despite leaning heavily into that third-party aesthetic, more so than the last one, it's actually pretty consistent and well-defined. Of course, this is the full build version, and there are 3 other versions that show off their robot innards, but personally I wasn't particularly a fan of them and went with the more traditional style. Dunno what it is with brick building companies and showing robot innards, but it seems to be quite common. Quite odd if you ask me. I really like the way the torso comes together. Not only is it the best part of the build, but it's really well detailed with several clever techniques. It's sort of similar to the Flame Toys design, very muscular and angular. Of course it opens up to reveal a matrix, and fortunately this one looks way better than Disaster Prime. Again, not removable, but let's be real, I think most collectors are getting annoyed with the constant removable matrix gimmick anyway. Of course, that's really all this figure can do, as it's not really an action figure and is more so a statue with limited posing. Think in the same vein as Fantasy Astro Boy, minus the stand. And you know what? Honestly, I'm okay with that. Instead of being something that tries and fails to pose and transform, it sticks in its lane and does it pretty well. It doesn't overstep its boundaries, it sets out to be a highly detailed Optimus Prime statue, and it delivers to a reasonable quality. You're not going to get any crazy poses out of this thing, especially with the lack of proper hip and thigh rotation, but it's a very nice change of pace after the nightmare I had to deal with previously. Hey, it's still ironically more posable than Disaster Prime, not just because of weight issues, it genuinely has more posing and deeper joints. It also understands its limits, seen clearly with the accessories. These are dedicated pieces, cut off a mold runner, and thanks to this they're both detailed and lightweight. Consequently, he can actually hold these properly. I realize this is the bare minimum a figure or statue should be able to engage with, but really, I've stared into the abyss of wonky brickset design, and I'm glad I don't have to do the same again. Of course, said weapons display my 2 main gripes. First, you can see the plastic here is somewhat faded and dull. This is an issue that persists throughout the set. The pieces aren't particularly vibrant. They're decent quality, but in a vacuum they don't quite look the part. Of course, once the thing is assembled, you'll never notice it, but it is something to keep in mind. Secondly, the ratchet joints are somewhat weak. Once you get him on a shelf and leave him, he should be fine, but transporting him is very difficult as these things not only wobble around a lot, but they also love to just fall out at a moment's notice. This thing actually took a stairwell dive during the process of scripting, which is now why it's missing a piece. Watch it show up in the dog's business or the vacuum cleaner in a week's time. But those issues aside, this is a genuinely nice statue. It's surprisingly to my taste, I mean, aside from the head, but I think most people will prefer this kind kind of head over the official LEGO one using printed pieces, but that's more of a me thing, not a figure itself thing. I'm not using the term statue as an insult here. It's what the figure is, and it does it pretty well. To put things into perspective, with Disaster Prime, I decided to disassemble the thing and turn it into an alternate build, one that hopefully transforms. Still not done yet, but I'm working on it. I figured that regardless of whether I like this statue or not, I do the same, just as it isn't something I'm typically into. And yet, I kinda don't want to now. I kinda want to keep it as is, at least for the time being. It's got jank in a few areas, as many unlicensed figures do, brick-based or otherwise. But there's a passion and appreciation for the hobby in this thing that really blindsided me. If this stank, I would have been completely honest, but it doesn't. It's genuinely good, especially for the price. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to take a look at it. Not a list contender for 2024, but still, no regrets. Anywho, if this figure interests you at all, this figure and many more are available over at Barweer, the providers of this product sample. At the time of publishing this video, a clearance event is inbound for Tuesday the 23rd of January. I'm just getting this video out a few days early, as Sundays seem to do best for the algorithm. This is to tie in with the upcoming Lunar New Year event, for the Year of the Dragon, and there will be plenty of items on clearance, as well as some sale items under the code Dragon Cheer. Though, depending on the item, it'll either be 13% off or 16% off. Oof, that was a long run-on sentence. Oops. Furthermore, each order that meets the requirements gets a free keychain and minifigure packet. But if none of that tickles your fancy, this affiliate code will also give you a standard 16% off any order. 3% more than last time. Seems like we're moving up in the world. Anywho, that's been my quick look at Hero Lord Tank 9207. If his tickled your fancy, give Barweer a check and see what they have to offer. In the meantime, more analytical videos coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned.